Welcome back to Revival Ready. We are so excited to have you here. Get cozy because we are going to be digging deep, and I want you guys to just be able to just take in the fullness of this episode because I'm so excited about this. Um, if you could not tell by the title, we are talking about waiting today. This has been really heavy on my heart. I feel like we all go through this and we all eventually will go through this. It's just a part of the Christian walk. It's really a part of any walk, though. So I'm going to start this off by telling you kind of why this came to my heart. So I was on a run about, let's say, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It started getting warm, and I love running in the warm weather. And I had like 0.5 miles to go till I got to my end goal, which is my house. And I could see it. I was literally so close. And so I told myself, I was like, when I get to this point, and I pointed to something, I don't even remember what it was, I'll start running again. And as soon as I said that, as soon as those words left my lips, the Holy Spirit convicted me heavy and gave me this word. As Christians, we tend to focus on the promise or the end goal that the Lord has given us, a calling, a relationship. Like, you know that the Lord has promised these things to you, but you're still in a waiting season. You're still waiting for these things to come to fruition. We get so caught up in this, we start focusing on the promise. We start to take our eyes off Jesus. And when this happens, we start to grow weary, saying, when I get to preach next, I'll push forward. Or when worship gets good to me and I actually feel a move, I'll press forward. We also say, like, this is my favorite. Okay, I wrote this down. When he brings me out of this waiting season, I'll start going again. I have been in that situation so often. It just feels so mundane when you're in that waiting season and you're not doing anything about it. Like, it just starts to get so mundane because you could be waiting for a move of God, like, just over your life, and you just feel like he's not there. And it's so hard. When in reality, the waiting is what makes us stronger. In Isaiah 40:28-31, it says, "Do you not know, and have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the whole earth. He never becomes faint or weary. There is no limit to his understanding. He gives strength to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Youths may become faint and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who trust in the Lord," in different versions it says who wait upon the Lord, "they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary, and they will walk and not faint." Um, so in this verse, I was pondering on this when I got back from my run, and this verse came to mind, and so I looked it up. And instead of leaning on the Lord's understanding, which it says in this verse, if you lean on his understanding, you will not grow weary. Okay? Instead of leaning on his understanding, we get distracted because we aren't still running towards him. When we take our eyes off the promise maker and focus on the promise, that thing he is about to do for us becomes just that. It becomes a thing. What I mean by a thing is that the children's ministry, it becomes a daycare. The preaching ministry becomes the title motivational speaker. And that worship ministry just becomes a performance. When we focus on our end goal, that very ministry will start to slow down. If not, it'll stop. But when we keep our focus on the promise maker, the promise keeper, and keep running towards him, then and only then will we make it to our promise. I don't know if Maddie's gone through this. I'm sure you have. When you are waiting for your ministry to start, or you're waiting to even be able to go further in your ministry, you know the Lord has promised this to you. You know that he's called you to this. You start to look at that promise. You can start to idolize that promise. And just like I said, that promise can just become a thing so fast because you are not waiting upon the Lord and you're not using his understanding, you're using your own understanding, and then that'll make you weary. Just like when I was on my run, I was like, I'm focusing on the end goal. I can see it. It's right in front of me. So I started walking. That's what we do as Christians. When we see our end goal, we see it and we're focusing on it, we begin to become weary and we begin to stop running towards the Father, we should not be running towards our ministry. So the ministry Abba has entrusted us with will always start to grow and thrive. He's our Father, and He wants us to see us succeed, not fail. But to do that, we must stay in His will, seeking guidance and correction from Him. Waiting without correction, there's no good in it. Like, if you are not praying for correction, then there's nothing, like, you're waiting for a reason. The Lord puts you in that for a reason. And if you're not praying for correction, and you're not praying for conviction, and you're not praying for things to be revealed to you, then you're doing nothing in your waiting season. I saw something the other day, and it said, if the Lord has you in a waiting season, do what waiters do and serve. So if you have nothing else that you think you should do, serve others. Serve in another ministry. Serve your pastor. Serve your children's ministry. Anybody can do children's ministry, okay? Anybody can do it. You go to VBS one year and do the craft table. Like, you can serve in any capacity. You can take out the trash after service every day. The Lord places us in that position to, I feel like, one, humble us, but two, He places us in that position to prepare us for something greater that we would not be able to do if we did not go through that season. You have anything?
Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, this is like a side tangent. Last episode, I said Matthew 8. I was gonna say this in the intro, but like it went really fast. It's 18. It's Matthew 18:15. So that's embarrassing. I'm sorry. But as far as waiting goes, this was Hannah's topic. Last time was my topic, so I'm not going to be talking as much today. But I have been in a waiting season. I'm currently in a waiting season. And they're tough because I feel like our world has glorified the grind.
Yeah.
Like, accomplishments are everything in this world. So anytime that you picture yourself doing ministry, like when I first started being on the worship team or working with kids, like in my mind I had like this awesome picture of like all these kids coming up to me and asking me a bunch of questions, and like, and that's great. Like, ambition's awesome. But the goal is to plant seeds. You might not even see what happens in these kids' lives. You might not see what happens in the people's lives that you're singing in front of. You don't know. But what you do know is that you're walking in purpose.
Yeah.
And that is a choice that you're making, is to still walk in purpose, even though you don't exactly know where your end goal will be. Mm-hmm. And that is something I struggle with, is I want to know. Like, yeah. I'm the kind of person, I want to know, like, where we're going, what we're doing. Like, I want to know. But that's not always how God works. Mm-hmm. So the hardest part of waiting for me is the unknown.
Yeah.
And I want to figure it out. But that's not what we're called to do.
Yeah. And it says right here, there's no limit to His understanding. There's limit to our understanding. There will always be a limit to our understanding. We're human. But the Lord, He understands everything. He knows what is going to happen. And we need to trust in Him because He is the only one that knows. I first want to give an example of a waiting time in my life. I'm going through a waiting time. Like, I know the Lord has placed a calling over my life, but waiting for that calling, oh my gosh, I feel like that is the hardest thing for the youth today. That and relationships.
I was about to say, marriages are really hard to wait on.
Yes. But for single Christians and people that are really just, they want to stay single and they want to be in a singleness season, which is great and it's fine. But I feel like that's really the one thing that they cling to, and the one thing that they desire is to receive their calling. And that's the one thing that they're like fasting relationships for and stuff like that, is to get closer to the Lord and receive the calling that the Lord has on your life, the specific calling. And that is so hard to wait for. Oh my gosh. I can't even describe. Like, especially when you're praying for it and yearning for it, like,
I know that you have received some things from the Lord. How long would you say that you prayed for this before receiving it?
I'm 17. So probably like 5 years.
I prayed for my calling for, I would say, close to seven
Mhm.
7 years before I received it. But also, in that season when I was upset because I wasn't hearing from God what I needed to go do, I wasn't in the correct heart posture. Caleb. I wasn't in the correct heart posture at that time to have taken on that calling.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that in our waiting seasons, we are thinking of it as not like
Setback.
it's not a setback, it's a preparation for what's
Yes.
next.
He's not holding you back.
Mm-mm.
He's not he's preparing you.
Yeah.
He doesn't want you to fail. Like I just said, he wants you to thrive. He wants your ministry to thrive, but he wants it to glorify him. And the only way to glorify the Lord is to do it through him.
And he wants your relationship to thrive too.
Mhm.
That is something that, if you listen back to the first episode, that is something I struggled with, was my waiting season with relationships and trying to speed up the process and trying to force that person to be who I wanted them to be in order for me to get married quicker.
Mhm.
Um, and it's hard because, that's another thing that this world preaches so much on, is like, oh, you fall in love and then you can build a life. Don't listen to that, okay? If you go in Corinthians, Paul actually says, stay single if you can't control yourself. But my point being, you do not need a relationship to fulfill you. It is okay to take things slow, and you can find happiness in the Lord. You don't need that person to make you happy. And trying to rush into relationships and get them going quickly, that is not what you need to do. You need to take things slow and pray and make sure, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you are choosing your own desires or someone else's desires over what God has for you.
Yeah, that correlates a lot with like emotion. Like emotion along with your spiritual walk. It's really, really hard to get those two mixed up, especially when you're a teenager or a young person. It is really hard not to get those two mixed up. What you're feeling and what the Holy Spirit's telling you. Because I feel so much love for Maddie. It would be so hard for me to hear the Holy Spirit telling me to like step away from her. Especially when we have this podcast going and stuff like that. Like, it's really hard to differentiate when you are in that like emotion. Um do you have anything else?
I don't, guys. This might be our shortest episode ever.
I don't know what else to talk about. We're gonna have to edit this one.
We it is Thursday night. It is actually the night before we're posting, and it is 10:10 currently. We were both very tired. We did work all day.
Yeah.
Um, but I just want to stress to each and every person listening that this is not punishment.
No.
God is not saying that you're not good enough to step into this season. He's trying to prepare you. because he knows that you can be good enough to step into this season.
Yeah.
But you need this season, you need this time to prepare you. It's just like school. Like, you wouldn't just walk into your dentist office and him tell you, "Well, I never went to dental school, but I'm just gonna pull your teeth out real quick." Like, I'll be freaking out. But my point being, he is using this to prepare you for what's next.
I think anything worth doing takes waiting.
It does.
I think anything that is special enough to put your life into it takes waiting.
Mm.
You will, as a Christian especially, be put in waiting seasons a lot.
Yeah.
Praying for some miracle to happen, you'll be waiting for it. I'm not nothing against like miracles that happen like that. Like that's beautiful. But
Per.
that's beautiful. I was gonna say perfect. That's beautiful.
Well, I like per better.
But that is great. And praying and waiting for your calling, praying and waiting for your relationship, that is great.
Yeah.
But it's the waiting. It's so much easier said than done. Because when you're in it, sometimes you don't even see it as a waiting season. You see it as punishment, or you see it as, am I doing something wrong? Like, is there something that's wrong with me? Like, why is Maddi getting up there singing, but I have to sit down here with all this talent?
Ooh. Okay, hold on. That made me think of something. Back when we were younger, how old were you when you started the youth band?
Playing violin. Okay, listen, I played violin.
Not the violin.
I played violin on our youth band for like a year before I started playing piano. I was like, I want to say like 13.
Okay, so
when I started
that would make
violin.
me 15. So
Yeah.
when I was 15 years old, I have always been into music. Like, before I even loved the Lord, when I was a little girl, I was in all the choir, like the school choirs. I grew up around music. That was just something I loved with all of my heart. And I mean, I'm decent at it. I mean, I'm not the best person, but like I'm okay at it. And when I was 15, I saw all these people getting invited, all these younger people getting invited onto the stage. And I was so upset. I remember like being so bitter that anytime they would go up there, I would walk out.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get like really mad and act like I deserved to be up there. Oh, I act like I deserved to be up there.
You don't deserve anything, by the way.
No.
You deserve death. Like, that's what we deserve.
Yeah.
That's why the Lord died for us. But, you know.
Yes. So I had the mindset that I was supposed to be up there at that time when they were, and I was just so upset about it. So it was probably like a year or two later that I started to like walk more in the direction of the Lord. And I came back from church camp completely like flipped upside down. Like, I didn't care who was on the stage. I just wanted to be in the room praising the Lord. And that is when I was allowed on the praise team. But that season taught me exactly what I'm telling you right now. You can't take this season of waiting and be bitter. You can't be, well, I deserve better than this. Like, I shouldn't have to wait. Don't be an entitled Christian. There's honestly no such thing. You need to like take that to the Lord. If you are struggling with those feelings right now, you need to take that to the Lord, because that is not from him.
Mm-mm.
But I got so caught up in feeling like I deserved better that I couldn't even stand to be in the room where they were praising the Lord, because I wasn't up there doing it.
Y'all, I was playing violin.
Yeah.
You couldn't even hear it. Okay. Mm-mm. And I honestly, that brings up something else. When I was playing violin, I had the ability to play piano. We had another girl that played piano way better than I could at that time. I had the ability to play piano.
The phone's like dying right now.
But if anybody has seen a, a violinist, you have to have like your chin down and on the violin most of the time. Because again, I was 13. I wasn't that skilled at violin either. Um, I wanted to sing. I love singing. I always sang specials at church and stuff like that. And when I got on stage, everybody else could sing, but I couldn't because I was playing violin. And so I wanted to play piano so badly because I wanted to get off that violin. I wanted to get off that instrument so that I could sing and do my harmonies that I thought were so good. And
We have definitely improved.
I wanted to do all these things, okay? I wanted to show off, and the Lord was like, "No, girl. No." I remember talking to my parents about this, and they were like, "Just do what you like need to do right now, blah 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 blah." I finally did get to play piano, and after I got to play piano, I regretted it. I did not want to play piano anymore. So that was entitlement. I was like, I should be able to do whatever I want. No,
Yeah.
no. You, like she said, do not be an entitled Christian. It makes your life so much harder. Like, do what you are needed to do. It's a hard life when you do that, especially in a church, I feel like, when you just do what you're needed to do, because that could be cleaning toilets one day. I don't like cleaning toilets very much,
Me either.
but that could be cleaning toilets one day. That could be doing children's ministry one day. I love children's ministry. I don't like the nursery.
I don't like children's ministry, but I work in it because I love. Let me take that back. I love children's ministry. I'm not good at it. Okay? Hannah is so much better at children's ministry than me. But before I worked on the stage, I worked in children's ministry. I worked, and I had to work in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
Like, there were other things that I had to do that weren't my end goal, and those are the things that built me up.
Yeah.
And I am forever, ever, ever thankful for all of these things because I have got to be a part of something that I would have never been a part of if I had gotten onto the stage when I thought I should have been. And if I would have got up there, I would have continued in my entitlement and been like, well, I'm just better than everyone else because they asked me to and not you. So, ha ha. Because that was my mindset when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you're probably not 15, okay? I don't know who you are, but you're probably not 15. If you are, whatever. But I work with the public, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I see these attitudes every day that we deserve so much better and we don't. So if you are in a season of waiting, you don't deserve better than what you have right now.
Yeah.
Take what you have right now. Pray to the Lord and ask him what he wants you to do with it and walk in that.
Also, going off of taking what you have right now, glorify the Lord with what you have right now.
Yes.
She was in the congregation, but why would we have a worship team if we don't have a congregation?
Yeah.
That's a ministry in itself. Like, the congregation is a ministry by itself. The music would mean nothing without people to worship to it, right?
Yeah.
So take what you have and glorify God with it, because that's what he wants. I don't think he could really care less if you were preaching or teaching on a stage. He cares about the people that are watching you and you're talking to, and he cares about the seeds that are being planted. He cares about the souls that are being saved. Yes, if you're preaching on a stage, great. If you're singing on a stage, I do it every Sunday. It's great. I love it. But you have to glorify the Lord with what you have. I would love to have so many more people on the stage and a bunch more harmonies and a bunch more instruments. That would be great. But we glorify the Lord with what we have because he gave that to us. What's the point in giving us something if we're not glorifying him? If we're not looking to him and we're running towards the thing that he's promised us and the thing that we're waiting on, and we're not running towards him, it's going to fail. Every single time it will fail.
This reminds me of those videos. I don't know if you've seen them. They were like all over like Facebook, Instagram, whatever, like a year and a half ago of like this study they did with kids where they would like place candy on the
Yes. Oh
table
my
in
gosh.
front of them and they would leave the room and tell
Mhm.
them to wait until they got back. And I think one of them that I saw,
Yes.
if they waited, they got extra.
Mhm.
But the kids who didn't
Ooh.
wait, they didn't get that extra.
Yeah.
They got what little candy. It was a little small pile of
Mhm.
candy on the table, but the kids who waited got rewarded.
I heard my mom talking about that. She taught the middle school class for a few years on Wednesday nights, and she gave everybody a candy bar. I heard her talk. I wasn't even in this class. I just remember her talk. I will remember this for the rest of my life. I heard her talking about it. I think to my dad, and she was like, "I gave everybody a small candy bar, like one of the like share size or not share size, like one of those little Twixes that you get in
Yeah.
your Easter egg or something like that." And she gave everybody one of those. And she had brought like big, like king size candy bars to church with her. And she was like, if you want to eat yours right now, go ahead and eat it. But if you want to save it for later, then save it. And so some of them ate it, some of them saved it. And at the end of her lesson, it wasn't like, oh, okay, like the ones that waited, blah, blah. No. At the end of her, like, normally it's like 25 to 30-minute lessons.
Yeah.
She gave them the king size candy bars, the ones that didn't eat it. And all the people that ate theirs was like, oh my gosh, I want one, I want one. And she was like, no, you ate it.
Yeah.
If you jump into ministry too fast without waiting for the Lord's approval and the Lord's like, go ahead, you can eat your own words. You can literally be like, oh, he had something so much bigger for me.
Yeah.
I could have gone there if I just waited a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Or he would have taken me there
Mhm.
if I had just waited a little bit longer.
You won't get your king size candy bar, okay? I love me a good king size candy bar. But in all seriousness, that is a perfect example. I'm so glad the Lord gave me that. That is a perfect example of what we're talking about with these kids that are choosing this itty bitty tiny little bit of candy instead of waiting. And I think that just shows like how being impatient it really is in our nature because these are just little kids. I mean,
And that can totally signify like the world's pleasure,
yeah.
like above God's pleasure.
Yeah.
Like we can take what the world gives to us, but in the end we're going to still be hungry.
Mhm.
Okay? In the end we're still going to be hungry.
Yeah.
But when we take what the Lord has for us, if we wait just a few more months or a few more years even, if we just wait in that season that the Lord has us in and he's still with us in, if we just wait, we will never thirst or hunger again because he is fulfilling us, right? I am just so in awe of what the Lord has done in mine and Maddie's lives and all the people around us. We have a lot of young friends that are our age.
We have a lot of middle-aged friends too.
Yes.
Like,
but like even young friends that had to like that desired marriage so strongly and they had to wait for that perfect relationship. Like they're young and they're married.
mhm.
Waiting doesn't always have to be 6 years.
Mm-mm.
It can be a few months. We're not saying that you have to wait 15 years and 6 years and like no, it can be a few months, but we're saying that waiting seasons are always different. And you've always got to trust the Lord through them because again, his understanding is above our understanding.
And when you choose to wait, he will recognize that.
Yes.
When you choose to say, okay, I see that you don't want me moving further, I will stay here and I will find the purpose in this season. He will see you through.
He will. But also, again, don't get entitled and say, well, I'm waiting, so now I deserve it. You will never deserve anything.
Yeah.
Everything the Lord gives to you is a gift that he decides to give you. you are not deserving of any of it. Everything that the Lord has given you, everything that the Lord has given us is a gift.
Yeah.
And you can never do anything to earn it. So, just like with fasting, we should totally do a podcast on that. That would be so great. Just like with fasting, it's not punishing yourself so that the Lord sees you and he's like, oh yeah, I see you. Like, I'll tell you this, this, and this. No. You fast to become closer to the Lord, to die of your fleshly desire of food, because we all love food, okay? We all love food, okay? To die of your fleshly desire.
I'm sorry, y'all. We had like a whole conversation about this earlier. I apologize.
But he recognizes that you're dying to your flesh, and then while being closer to him, with being closer to him, that's when you are one with him, and that is when you hear from him, when you're one with him. That's all I have. Do you have anything else?
I don't, and I think our camera is like dying right now.
It is really dying. It's been a really long day, y'all.
It has been.
And I'm sure all of you can relate to long days, but like, I feel like today has been a week. Like,
it's been pretty rough. But
yesterday and today.
We made it through by the grace of God.
By the grace.
And we still got to say hi to you guys and
I'm
stop
so
in and
excited.
have a little chat.
I love you all so much. And Jesus loves you so much. And we will see you on our next podcast. Love y'all.
Bye, guys.